So at Freeman's Waterhole, and Henry and I have just driven down to Kurrambong and bought this. Little Honda CBR250R. I've just ridden it from Kurrambong here to Freeman's Waterhole. Filled it up with fuel. Cost $13 to fill the tank, Henry. It was completely empty. Full $13. And that was 98 too, the expensive stuff. Happy with it?
Yep.
Yeah? Give me a smile.
Wait. Okay.
So it's daytime now and we've got Henry's bike home. It was a bit of a wet trip getting it home. Definitely brakes are certainly spongy. I'm going to give them a bit of a bleed. I'll show you what happens there in a minute. We've also got a bent brake lever down here, so I'm going to try and bend that back, but I suspect it's going to break the brake to get the pun. I'm going to break the brake lever by bending it back, but we'll give that a go. Tyres look good, fluids probably looked okay when I checked them over before, other than this what I suspect is a bit of air in the brake line, so we'll check that out. That's full brakes, front and rear, locked on, and it just doesn't even lock up. Have a look at this. The back brake it doesn't even lock. So we'll do that. I think we'll get some new fluid in the brakes and see what happens there.
There you go.
Okay, just pulled the dust cap off this here in order to bleed the brakes. It's an 8mm spanner. I'm just going to put that on and just make sure it's cracking nicely. I'll get this over the top. It's a bit of 5mm clear tubing. On this end, we're going to just put a small hole in here. And that just sit up a little bit. And go into there. Just want that up so that the air goes upwards first. Now, on this end, plenty of rags around our brake reservoir. I'm just going to take that reservoir off. Those two screws. You see that? That one. That one. Take the cap off, and there's this diaphragm that just sits there that regulates as the air moves up and down. This adjusts and goes up and down too. So I'm just going to pull that off and make sure there's no leaks in that either. So I'm going to extract as much of that as I can with this syringe, so I'm just not putting that through the system. You notice I put a rag around there so this brake fluid doesn't get on any paintwork. I'll leave that a little bit there, I just don't want to introduce air into that line. So I've got the dot for brake fluid. Put a little bit in here and get it. I'm going to have to keep topping that up. I'm going to put the lid back on. So a nice sunny day. Hopefully there's not much moisture in the air. Then the intent is put a bit of pressure on that, crack this open, and you can come and see the fluid coming up here, James. See the fluid coming up the pipeline as I squeeze that brake handle in, and then before I release the brake handle, close that off, and then look up at the brake, then open the brake handle again, and then pressure that up. There'll be pressure there until I open the thing again and squeeze that through, lock it off, release the brake handle, pressure again, release the, squeeze the brake, lock off the bleed, open it up, pressurize again, crank it off, lock it off. Now, need to check how we're going for fluid. Not too bad, but we'll add a bit more. Same thing, pressure, release. So we're going to give this little diaphragm just a wipe down, make sure there's no grit and dirt in it. I've topped this off to the right level, put that back in neatly there. We'll get into the cover. A bit of fluid came out then, so I'll give that a wash down as soon as we've done this. Just check the sight glass there, James, and tell me how the line's going.
The what?
Right, now the last bit is tighten this nut back up. We want to get all this. Now this is, you're going to pinch that off and drop that down into the container. Lift that off. Add another wipe down. Put that dust cap back on. I might take that for a quick ride up the hill and see if that brake works any stronger before we tackle the back one. So we're back at Henry's little CBR250. The brakes are still spongy. Pull the brakes on full and they're not working real well. So I'm just taking the calipers off now, just undoing these two 12mm, see that, 12mm bolts here and there. And we're just checking to see if there's any crud and rubbish in these brakes. Alright, so I've got the caliper off. I'm going to pull these pads out. I might pull that other bracket off as well. and try and work out whether we can clean these and get them working a bit. Alright, so I'm just loosening off that bolt there, which pins those two pads together. We'll get the pads out. So, I don't know if you can see in there. I'm going to give that a clean up. There's a lot of gunk in there, and if I come back to the pads, there was quite a bit of gunk on them. I'm not sure they'll even go back in. I think we'll put new pads in. They're just corroded. The backing plate's corroded. I think there's still enough braking stuff on there, but those pads, the backs of those just look shocking. Right, giving this a good clean up as best as I can anyway. I'm going to reassemble it with the old brake pads that I've cleaned and got all the gunk out of, because it's Saturday afternoon and no one's open. If I can get some new ones I will, but I'll see how these go. At least I'll get it back together and see if this is the problem. I've just put it all back together, taken it for a quick test ride. That seems to be working a lot better. That cleaning has got all the gunk out of it and made it work quite nicely, so we'll give that a run and we'll see how Henry goes with that. So we've got this broken brake lever on Henry's bike, and I'm going to try and straighten it out with this bit of pipe just to make sure. That's straighter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just a little bit more. Yeah, that's pretty good. I've bent it down and forward. Just make sure there's no cracks in there. I thought that might be a fatigue crack if I... Good.